Hello and welcome to Decorate It. My name is Mary and this is Wes. Tonight is episode 26. We're talking about painting blanks in components. And we actually have a special guest on tonight, Don Shafar, which we'll bring him on in just a minute. But I do have to go ahead and preface this that Wes is very sick. We're actually both sick, but Wes is very, very sick and he can't speak very well. So he's just hanging out being cute, okay? Before we bring Don on, Don shared with us a bunch of his photos. He's with Backbone Custom Rods. He's our exclusive painter when it comes to painting our blanks and our rail seats, and we've used him for years. Love his work, and he's got a whole bunch of different things tonight to show us. But this is our very first guest appearance interview, so be a little lenient if there's a little dramas or anything like that going on, because we're trying, I promise.
Be patient.
Be patient with us. That's all we ask. But without making our guest wait any longer, we are going to bring on Don. Hello, Don. How are you?
Hello, Mary. Hi, Wes.
How's it going?
Good to be here. Good to be here. So I'm the first guest, huh?
You are the very, very first guest, the absolute first one.
All right.
So, Don, how did you get into painting blanks and real seats and stuff?
Well, it's about almost 11 years ago now that I started building rods. And at the time, I was a painter. I painted all kinds of composite materials for most of my life. I worked in a fiberglass business for a long time where we did a lot of custom painting of it, and then I went to work for a golf cart company for a while that we were painting golf carts, and I started building rods on the side, thinking that, hey, this is just a cool little side gig and more of a hobby than anything else. And by the time I built my second rod, I thought, I wonder if I could paint this thing. So I painted it. And that's the rod that Connie fishes with most of the time and has probably caught thousands and thousands of trout on that rod. And it has held up very well. So it's one of those things that just painting that one kind of got me into, well, let me try it on something else. And it just slowly and organically just developed into a real live business.
That's awesome.
It was a side hustle for quite a while, where I started painting rods for a few buddies and stuff like that. I was part of the American Tackle Pro Staff team and got to painting for a lot of those guys, and just kind of slowly getting my name out there. Realized that, hey, there is a market for this, but I never really expected it to take off to the point that this is all we do now. My wife and I both, this is all we do. And we paint rod blanks. I love building rods, but I honestly get to build 2 or 3 rods a year, and they're usually for friends or family or charity work.
Wow, so, that is awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of not awesome you don't get to build as often, but it's great that it's kind of involved into this amazing, side niche for you.
Well, I get to do arts and crafts for a living, so don't feel bad for me. And I really do enjoy it. It really is fun. Yeah, sometimes I have to paint 50 white blanks, and it's like, okay, that's just chores.
Yeah.
But when I get to paint stuff like just recently did that snakehead rod and some of the other ones that I've done where it's just trying to come up with different ways of painting a skinny little rod blank that's 6, 7, 8 feet long and get skinnier and skinnier as it goes out, and try to carry out some of the stuff that I do on them. It's one of those things. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. I really do enjoy challenging things. Sometimes I have to shake my head and say, I can't figure that one out.
Yeah.
But eventually I do. I just did my first gator one, which I've had so many requests for gators over the years, and it's like I just couldn't figure out the pattern on it. Finally did one that came out spectacular, very pleased with it. So, just coming up with different themes, different schemes. Sometimes it's just a matter of coming up with the perfect color.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have just the right shade of pink or the right shade of orange. If you're a Clemson or a Gator or a Tennessee fan, you got to have the right color of orange.
Yep.
You cannot give a Gator fan a Tennessee orange rod. They'll throw it away. They will not fish with that. So you got to get those oranges right. And that's one of the things that I do is, my hashtag has always been kind of any blank, any color. When I say that, I truly do mean it. It's any color, and people will ask me, well, can you send me a list of all your colors? And it's like, no,
Yeah,
it's all the colors.
Yeah.
What color do you want? And we'll start out with, okay, I want a light blue because my boat is a light blue. I'm like, okay, is it the Carolina blue, whatever? And they'll give me the color of the boat, and I'm like, let me send you a couple of samples. So I usually just send a couple of picture samples of different blues that I do, because I've got 8 or 9 different light blues, just light blues that
Yeah.
I do on a regular basis. If one of those isn't quite right, I can make something that is.
Yeah.
So just tell me it needs to be darker, it needs to be greener, whatever. I can make that happen. And of course, the any blank part of the any color is I paint anybody's blanks.
Yeah.
I, there's some companies out there that offer some painted blanks, a few colors options, but they offer it only on their own blanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I do everybody's blanks.
Yeah.
I have stuff shipped to me almost every day of the week. People are shipping me stuff from Seeker, from Thrasher, from Batson, from North Fork, and anybody and everybody you can think of is shipping me blanks for their customers, and I'm painting their customers' blanks. And so it's been a very busy thing. It's just unbelievable how busy we have gotten, and of course, some of the manufacturers out there that do their own painting and stuff, like the Rod Geeks and Rod Forge and stuff like that. I've painted some of their blanks too.
Yeah.
So because they don't do all colors, and they don't do lightning bolt patterns and stuff like that on rods,
Or hot dogs.
and I do.
Yeah, or hot dogs, right?
or a hot dog, or a hot dog.
We will definitely get into
it's only a matter of time before I have to do my second hot dog.
Right. Somebody else is going to ask for one. They will.
Yeah, hopefully they send me a little fatter rod next time.
That was the challenging one on that one. It was tiny.
That was an awfully skinny hot dog.
It's very skinny.
More like a Slim Jim.
Yeah, it's like a piece of jerky, basically. Oh, man.
Yeah.
In your expertise opinion, how much weight does painting a blank add?
I can tell you that almost exactly. I have tested that probably 10 different times over the years. And every single time it has come up to almost the exact same number every time. On a 7-foot blank, you're going, particularly on something that's like an inshore or a freshwater blank, a 7-foot blank, it will add 0.07 ounces to the entire weight of the blank. Now, how much is a 0.07? 0.07 is the same weight. Actually, this razor blade is 0.08.
So the entire blank.
This razor blade outweighs the paint that I put on a rod.
Nice.
Okay. 1 dime is 0.08. So 0.07 ounces. And where is all that weight at? It's where the most surface area is. It's in the handle. It's in the middle of the rod. It's not out towards the tip.
Yeah.
The tip, there's so little surface area that it really adds an insignificant amount of weight to it. I don't know anybody who can actually tell the difference.
No.
By holding them.
That's it. That's so minuscule. It's not even enough to record.
I know you get the same question with the thread work. How much weight do you add? And it's not necessarily about how much weight do you add, but where do you add it?
And it's the balance.
You're not adding that weight out on the tip.
Right.
You're not adding it out where it's going to actually affect the action on the rod. You're the weight that you add to it is all right by the handle. It's really not going to affect the way the rod fishes.
I completely agree. It's not.
And besides the fact, most of the blanks that are out there, most of the rods that are out there are painted.
Yeah.
They're painted by the factories and stuff, but some of them are just painted black, and some of them are just clear coated. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They're already putting finishes on them.
Yep.
So
nothing's raw coming out, basically, except for a very few.
Yeah, there are raw, but it's one of those things that there's not that many of them that are raw. Usually people, they love the concept of, this is a raw blank, but they really don't like the way they look. Some of the blanks they've used for the ICRBE challenge rods, it's like, man, could they pick uglier rods? It's like they're trying to challenge you as to, how are you going to finish this rod? And I did not enter it this year, but I felt very good that Don Livingston, who did win it, got a rod painted by me. I painted that rod for him.
Nice. That's awesome.
So
yeah.
That felt really good.
You kind of won a little bit there,
I you know what? I didn't take it as a win, but I am awful proud of the fact that that one actually did win.
That's awesome.
So when you're painting the blanks, do you prefer them to be sanded or raw with the actual cellophane lines that are still on it after being made?
Well, I prefer them to be sanded. I get some of the Thrasher blanks in every now and then, and they take so much work to get that ribbing out of them. Because most people, they don't mind building on a black blank that has those ribs on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a neat thing. But when I paint one, they don't want it that way. They want it smooth. So they want me to sand that down. And honestly, I charge extra for that. When I get one that's really bad that costs me a lot of time to sand them down, I charge extra for that. I prefer a sanded blank. I don't mind if it already has a painted finish on it. That it
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't bother me. I think a lot, like I say, most of the blanks that come in have some sort of a finish on them.
Yeah.
Those don't usually bother me. I prefer a smooth finished blank, but it's one of those things that it kind of depends upon what it is. You know, some of them have a really heavy texture to them, really heavy ribs, and those need to be sanded down at least 90%. Whereas some of them, like some of the North Fork blanks and stuff like that, they have some ribbing, but it's really minor. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't take that much to smooth them out just a little bit to where they take paint well and look good. Like I say, I don't necessarily have to take it all off. I want to take it off enough to where the rod looks right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's look at some of these awesome photos. We've been sitting here staring at the red, white, and blue blanks that you have laid across this beautiful American flag out here for this Americana theme. How many of those do you think you do a year?
You know, I do quite a few of Americana themes. You know, a lot of different red, white, and blues, and I've done stuff where I've actually done the stripes vertically down the rods and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Those are really difficult because my difficulty with that is they have to be tapered stripes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those things that it's very difficult to do to mask them off properly like that. But I've done them. Usually, it goes out to about the first guide like that, and then it'll carry out with just white towards the tip or something like that, and the red will fade out. I've done them like that. I've done them with the stars on them and stuff like that. But generally, just a red, white, and blue rod. And I'm going to tell you, my favorite and probably my most painted Americana style rod is a white rod with a blue butt. The blue butt goes up almost to the first guide.
Mm-hmm.
Then use red thread work on your guides, on your guide wraps. And you don't need to add red paint to the rod too.
Yep.
That brings it out as that's just one of the prettiest, simplest red, white, and blue rods, and they look very patriotic. I've done a lot of them where I do all three colors and bring red out towards the tip, white in the middle, and blue towards the butt. I've done a lot of them that way, but really, to me, that I think they look better if you leave the red off and put the red on with your thread work.
I like that idea. That keeps it really clean and classy and not too much.
It does, and it's a very simple build. You don't have to be real fancy with it. It can be a very simple build.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Tell me about these. How hard it is to do these real seats with the stars and the stripes.
the stars and stripes ones, those are difficult. Those are difficult. And I do them with the thin blue line theme, and I do them with the thin red axe theme and stuff like that. So, and I've done them for border patrol. I've done them for corrections officers. You know what the corrections officers use?
Mm-mm. What are they use?
A thin gray line. It's got to
Oh,
be a gray line. So it's a
okay.
gray line that runs down the middle of it. So it's one I've done them for a lot of different ones. It's a lot of masking off. The stars I make those on a Cricut machine and mask off the stars that are on there are not stickers. It is paint,
Mm-hmm.
but I use the Cricut machine to make the stars in the right size for me and stuff like that, and it works really good for masking off. And I do that on a lot of different ones. I've done some EMS ones. I've done some different logo type stuff. I don't get into copyrighted ones, but if it's something that's a school logo and somebody has permission to use it, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
And usually I can make those up on the Cricut machine and do a really good job with them. So
I'm sitting there looking at your, the different reel seats. You had three here with the blue stripe, the regular white and blue, and the gray and white, or the silver and red. And I'm just imagining how much taping you have to do to get this right, and how frustrating it has to be
It
on this
is, and
little.
it is. You got to look at it as that's three paint jobs, because every time you mask it off, you're going back and you're repainting it again, and you have to leave all that masking on there. And and remember, you got to paint in reverse.
Yeah.
Everything has to be in reverse because you're taking it off in layers. So there's a trick to that, and it's one of those things that you have to think it out all the way through. I've done some of those that are really difficult. The red, white, and blue is tricky because of using three colors on it is tricky. I've done some where the autism ones, the puzzle pieces on the autism ones.
I bet those are a nightmare to do.
What do we got? 5 colors on there or something like that. I don't even know how many colors we use on those. The yellow, green, red, blue,
And then
the white background. But it's one of those, using all those colors. Every color is a paint job. So they're very tricky when you get into 5 colors and stuff like that on a little bitty reel seat.
Yeah.
You only have so much room to work with.
And they're usually very curvy,
Yeah, I had an artist friend he used to prep stuff for me when I was painting because he could never keep enough work, so he prepped for me when I was painting. He did beautiful murals on walls. Beautiful. Well, there's only so much business for that. So he was talking one day and he's like, I got to come up with something else. And I'm like, you just need to choose a different canvas. You need to find something else that you can paint that will be your little niche.
Yeah.
And that statement that I made to him may not have helped him out at all, but it sunk in when I said it, because it was shortly after that I got into building rods, and right away I started painting rods, and then I started realizing what I could do with it. By the time I'd done 5 or 6 rods, I'd done my first mahi blank, and I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Nice
to do something like that. Coming up with different ideas, and the mahi has been one of my most popular of all the fish species that I've ever done, the mahi. And I haven't changed it that much from the original one. A little bit, but not much. And you've got to be able to be consistent with them, because somebody will order one, and then a year, 2 years later, they're going to say, I want another one like that other one.
And you're like,
and you've got to be able to be consistent with it. You
Yeah.
can't just reinvent it every time. You've got to be consistent with it and be able to deliver the same basic thing over and over again. So you got to develop all your processes and all that stuff, and write them down, and make sure you follow your own directions, and
take notes and do all that.
That's a job in itself, just keeping up with all that stuff.
I'm sure you've got notes on notes on notes.
Oh, I've got notebooks full. Yeah.
So do I. I probably got like 10 at this point.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's one of those things that you write something down, because when you did it, it's like, okay, this came out right. I want to know how I did that. I want to be able to duplicate that. And you know how it is. You have to, when you want to duplicate it next time the diameter of that rod changes, and it changes your pattern.
Yep.
Simple little things like that. Same thing with painting them. I love painting all the different trout species, but I have to do them on fly rods most of the time, and that's tricky. There's very few of them are 12-weight fly rods. Most of them are 4-weights, and they're very skinny rods.
Ooh, no.
So trying to do some of the intricate stuff that I do on the fly rods, it's tricky trying to do that. So
yeah, I can imagine. What about these splatter paint jobs that you do? You've got you mix the orange candy and with a titanium and a black splatter, and that red metallic with the titanium metallic. That looks really good.
Yeah, that one I'm trying to show you the colors that I create on some of these, because one of the things that I do, the splatter technique, it's not rocket science.
Right.
It's literally taking a brush and flicking it at it. It is a matter of getting your paint to the right consistency, the right viscosity and stuff like that, to where it splatters properly. And every time you splatter it, a little bit splashes back on you.
Yeah.
So wear safety glasses. It's one of those things that a little bit of I go in the house, and Connie will be like, she'll know exactly what colors I was just splattering. It'll be all over my face, but it's one of those things that splatter technique is something that I've done a lot of. But what I really wanted to show in that picture is those colors, because it's one of those things that when somebody says, I want a red metallic color, I try to give them something that is going to really, really pop.
Mm-hmm.
When they want an orange metallic, I want to give them something that's really going to be something that when they get it, their jaw drops and they say, "Oh my God, that color is above and beyond what I was expecting." I try to deliver that. When I first started in this, there were very few colored rods available. There was some white ones. I think CRB had 5 or 6 colors
Mm-hmm.
that they could do on their blanks. If they had them in stock, you could get one. Rod Geeks hadn't really started up yet when I started doing this. Even with Rod Geeks, it's like they came out with 20, I think it's 27 colors or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
I got 27 light blues. You know, it's one of those things that it's literally just a matter of having all the colors and the fact that Rod Geeks, I'm not putting them down at all because I really love what they've done. And it's a shame that they're not doing all the colors that they used to do.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that they do build a great rod and stuff like that. But if you want to build on an MHX blank, I don't want to change your mind and talk you into a rain shadow, and vice versa. If you're used to building on rain shadow, I'm not going to try to talk you into North Fork.
Right.
That's not my job. My job is not to try to sell you on the blank. I want you to build on what you like to build on. And I just want to be able to give you the color that you want for your build. I want to create the canvas for you to do your artwork. That's all I want to do, splash some color on a canvas and allow your artwork to come out. That's my goal.
That EMS reel seat that you did just popped up on the feed. That one, you did really amazing with the.
That was tricky.
The staff.
Yes, and I don't even I forget what they call that. It's got a name.
Yeah,
it's got a name. I know
forget
that.
it too.
And if I call it the wrong thing, somebody's gonna call me out on it.
It's the medical staff.
But it does have a name. That snake thing that comes up and all that stuff. It's that was tricky. That was a very tricky one to come up with and to do that. And I had a customer that I had done several Americana ones, thin blue line ones, the firefighter ones and stuff like that. And he asked for the EMS and I'm like, I wouldn't just do this for anybody, but I'm going to attempt one for you. And it came out fantastic. It really did come out good. Getting that symbol in there and and I do sometimes tell people it's like, give me a reel seat I can work with.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they want this elaborate flame paint job and they send me one of these skeleton seats for a spinning rod and I'm like, there's nothing to it. There's nothing to this. How can and I have done flame jobs on skeleton seats and they came out pretty good, but it's still one of those things. Give me a little bit of surface area to work with and man, I can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But
all those reel seats that you have with your any seat, any color, that's that redfish and that mahi, those are like 2 of my favorites on that whole batch.
Peacock bass is one of my favorites too. That one comes out really nice. A lot of people don't know what the peacock bass is. It's not something that they catch in their neighborhood, but it is a pretty fish.
I've seen a couple pictures of it. It's got some really nice colors on it.
Just tell them it's fire tiger.
Down in South Florida, they call that a rainbow ditch pickle.
Nice. Puerto Rican flag.
Man, you got to know when you're doing that Puerto Rican flag. You got to know. It's like, don't get it mixed up with their colors. You'll end up with a Cuban flag, and you might as well send a Gator fan a Tennessee colored rod. It just that ain't gonna go. So
Nope.
You got to study those flags closely to make sure that you get them right. The Lone Star one, I've done several of them for Texas. I've done a lot of the Lone Star at flag on reel seats, and you got to get the top of the star going in the right direction. You got to pay attention to the details, that's for sure, when you're doing those.
Yeah, you don't want to accidentally get something wrong.
Right.
That is for sure.
Google's a wonderful tool.
Yes.
People will ask me about a particular school color or something like that. Man, I just Google them up and I pull up. You can pull up all the Pantone colors and all that stuff for all the different schools. So that doesn't do you any good at all because, number one, for you, the Pantones don't necessarily match up to the thread colors. For me, the Pantones don't necessarily match up to the type of paints that I use.
Right.
Because I'm using mostly automotive paints, and they don't use Pantone.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that doesn't really do me much good. What I want to do is I want to pull up the pictures and I want to give you a color that looks real close to it. But if you pull up a Alabama red and you pull up on Google and you look at 10 different pictures, you're probably going to see at least 5 different shades.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as simple as every t-shirt ever printed with Alabama is the exact same shade of red. It just doesn't come out that way. You've got to pick that color that's going to look good with it. And I do a pretty good job of that. I've never had a complaint about, hitting the school color right or, some sort of logo color correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you match it up. I mean, we tasked you with picking the Paw Patrol blue when you were like, which shade of blue? And I was like, let's try for this one. And it came back. That thing looks so cute put together.
Yeah.
And then the charcoal, trying to match. That's the hard thing. It's like with me and you, I was like, I needed it to match the EVA. And you're like, oh, this is going to be difficult because that's different textures going back and forth. And
it is. It's a total different medium. It's difficult to get that just right.
Yeah, but it matched perfectly, so you nailed it.
Yeah.
How about these tiger stripes that you've been putting on real seats and stuff? That's probably a lot of taping off and getting it just
right.
That
is a lot of masking off. Again, that's 2 paint jobs to do that, but because you've got to paint them black first, and then you come back with all your striping on there and stuff, and then you come back and spray the orange, or vice versa. And I've done some LSU colors as well, and the purple and yellow. Lance loves those. He's bought several of those from me. They're tricky because you literally have to lay down the stripes one at a time.
Yeah.
It's not like I have one sheet of tiger stripes that I can fit and have it lay down over a real seat, without doing it one stripe at a time.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it. That's a tricky one to do. The tigers are tricky. And like I say, I've done a couple of them where I did the rod for the guy, and I did probably about half of the rod with the tiger stripes on it. So, they get skinnier and skinnier at a certain point in time. It's like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, you got to stop it somewhere.
Yeah. Depending upon the size of the rod, if a guy sends me a tuna rod, I can do all kinds of stuff on a tuna rod.
Yep.
You send me a some sort of inshore rod or I had a guy ask me one time on an ice blank if I could paint a peacock bass on it. And I'm like, first of all, why? You're not going to catch a peacock bass for your fishing.
Right.
But, you're literally talking about painting a pattern like that on something so skinny that there's just no way to get the detail in it.
Yeah.
Although I have done wood grains on ice rods and they came out pretty good.
Your wood grain series is really nice. What about this El Fuego series? These look amazing. It's so 3D.
The flame jobs on the El Fuegos have been that's one of those things that I remember Darren Heim sat me down one day and we were talking about getting into this, and business was kind of taking off for me, and this was a long time before I was ready to do this full time or anything, but we were talking about it and just talking about the business aspect of it. And Darren is one of those, he's a purist. He's like, no, I only build on black blanks, and I do this, and I want it to be all about function. It's not about beauty. And yet I painted a whole set of blanks for Darren when he got his boat too. He still likes pretty.
Yeah, he does like pretty.
But it's one of those things that he was like, man, if you could ever come up with a flame job. And I'm like, how are you going to do a flame job on a skinny rod blank? And I had somebody ask for one of my good customers was going to be sending a set down to Costa Rica, and he needed 4 or 5, I think it's 5 or 6 maybe, blanks done up with a flame job on it. I'm like, send them. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to do the flames and all this stuff. And I'm fairly good with an airbrush as it is, but it's one of those things trying to do that. There isn't a video out there that'll tell you how to do a flame job on a cylinder, on a skinny round rod blank. You can do the hood of a car, you can do a fender, but trying to do a skinny rod blank, that was a trick. But watched enough videos that I came up with some ideas on something that I could try, and they came out good. They came out really good, and it's almost like every time I do one, they just come out better and better.
Yeah. Well,
It's just
there.
everything you do, they get better with in time.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got to see that set that you had at ICAST.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah,
on display. It was gorgeous.
yeah, the ones down at the Winthrop booth.
Winthrop. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that was an amazing set, and that was Fred from Winthrop. He wanted a special set done up, but he really was kind of tuned in on he rides Harleys, and he's like, I want something done with the Harley Davidson theme, and I was on a teleconference with him and the builder that day, and I asked him, I said, Fred, I said, do you drive a stock Harley or a custom Harley? And he says, kind of paused a second. He says, well, custom. I said, well, then why don't you get off the phone and let us figure this out? I said, you want orange and black? Okay, I get it. We'll give you orange and black. But we sent
Yeah.
him that flame set, and he won't fish those rods. He will not fish them. It's like, no, these are my show rods only. And he just absolutely loves them. He had another couple of them built the next year. It's like for the same show down at ICAST. He's like, I need a couple more. So, yeah, he says it just gets so many people to stop and look at them. And that is a beautiful set. And it's nice to be able to have some bigger rods, fatter rods to do them on. I do a lot of them on skinny rod blanks, and they come out great. But give me a nice fat rod, man. I'll tell you what, they'll really come out nice.
Yeah. Having that real estate makes it just that much better.
It makes it so much easier.
Fish species, those look really good.
And that's one of those things that I did. Like I say, I did a mahi almost right out of the gates, probably 5 or 6 rods in. I did a redfish fairly early on in the game and stuff like that when I was first getting into this. Did a redfish rod that came out really good. So did a couple of them, and I was getting a lot of requests. Every time you do something, somebody's like, "Oh my God, that's awesome!" But can you do they wanted a different fish species.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never even heard of that fish.
Right.
You're from up north. I'm from down south. I said, I don't know that fish, but let me look it up. Do you have any pictures of it? The whole processes that I have to go through to make it happen, and picking the right colors, blending colors, and all the different things that have to happen. There's probably 7, 8, 9 different colors in most of the fish that I do. It's just nonstop cleaning the gun and trying to come up with different stuff. And coming up with that process, I was just turning down paint job after paint job because it's like, I don't know if I can figure that one out.
Yeah.
And anymore, people send me stuff like the snakehead that I had just done. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I think I could do that. It's not as hard as it used to be to try to come up with it. I'm better at writing down my processes as I go. It's picking those colors, like you say, trying to get the right gray to go with your EVA, trying to get the right blue for a paw patrol, trying to get the right green on the back of a walleye. And it's one of those things, and getting the right blue on the back of a yellowfin tuna. It's trying to get those colors right. And sometimes it's not even about getting it perfect. It's about getting it right. When I'm looking at pictures, trying to figure out how to do a particular fish, I like to look at pictures that have been touched up.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at pictures that are magazine quality pictures. I like to look at pictures of mounts, because most of the colors that are in those are way more vibrant than the fish really is.
Yeah.
But that's what everybody wants it to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to go with those colors that are going to make it pop. Some fish have some really basic, ugly colors.
Yeah.
But you can bring those colors out a little bit. And like I say, look at some of the mounts. That's a good way to look at it, because some of those airbrushed mounts are beautiful the way they've done them.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps me pick out my colors.
This whole series of your fish is just amazing. They're all gorgeous.
I can't even tell you how many different fish I do now. It's dozens and dozens, and and like I say, I still get calls for stuff that I've never even heard of before.
Yeah.
I did one. It was a couple of years ago. Guy said that he wanted a Dolly Varden, and I'm like, what? I'm like, Dolly Parton, and he's like, no, a Dolly Varden. I'm like, what is it? And I said, can you send me a picture of it? And he says, not just a Dolly Varden. He says, I want a spawning Dolly Varden. I'm like, holy crap, you're getting very specific here. But he sent me some pictures of it, and I'm like, okay, I see this. I'm like, I can make this happen. And I did one up for him. And then just recently, I had what was his name up at Alaska Rod Company? Can't remember his name right now. But he contacted me. He says, hey, have you ever done a Dolly Varden? And I'm like, I send him pictures right away. It's like, yeah, I have. He couldn't believe it. He's like, oh man. He says, that's a spawning one. I said, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
of course. Is there any other kind?
Right? That's the only one.
And it is. It's everybody has the fish that they want to see. You know, that snakehead that I did the other day, that was a spawning snakehead. The way it was beat up, the red blotches in it and stuff, that was from the spawning. They get those red blotches because they get so beat up during spawning and stuff. So that's kind of what happens to them. They're actually bruises on the fish, and that's what the guy sent me a picture of. He says, I want it to look like this. That's what we did.
Man, that snakehead is awesome. We're looking at it right now.
Yeah, and that one I went with the scales.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always do scales, but that one needed scales.
Yeah.
You know, I charge extra for scales because it gets into a whole nother paint job.
Yeah.
The way it has to be laid on there and stuff. It's a big drawn out process to do those scales, but they look gorgeous when you do them. And I don't do it all the way to the tip. On that particular rod, I was able to do, I think it was a 7-foot rod, and I think I did about 4 feet of the rod with the scale pattern. I do as much of it as I can, and if it was a little bigger rod and stuff like that, it gave me enough room. It was more of a mag bass style rod, which had just a little bit more taper to it.
Yeah.
And it took it very well. The pattern went down really nice on that.
It's awesome. And then the yellowfin tuna that you were talking about, those rods just popped up too.
Yep.
That looks just like that photo. Like that's legit a yellowfin tuna and the rainbow.
Yeah, yellowfin, and I've done the bluefin also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things. It's at the point where even my wife is like, you know, when she sees a fish that somebody catches on TV or something like that, she's like, she knows exactly what the variety is because of the paint jobs I've done.
You're like, I recognize that one.
Yeah, she's like, that's a bluefin tuna, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, very good.
Good job. See, you're educating as you're painting, right?
Yep. I'm educating myself too because I haven't heard of a lot of these fish. So
that's it. I mean, I've never heard of a Dolly Varden, so I learned something new tonight too. Oh.
Dolly Varden.
So we're getting into your fun and strange builds.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of strange ones.
Yeah, we got
a lot of those have your name on them, and some of them have Warren Page's name on them.
I think that's Warren's we're looking at right now with the bats on it.
Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah, because I had to do grips for it.
Yes, I had to paint a little tackle box for it too.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, the tackle box was done up with the bats on it as well. Yeah, that was a Warren Page one there.
I think that the orange and black. I think those are. Is that supposed to be the Bengals? The Bengal stripes?
The orange and black, the tiger stripe one? Yeah, I think that might be the Bengals one.
I recognize that because I think I did the grips for that set, actually.
Yes, for Joey.
Yep. Joey LaMonica.
Joey LaMonica, yes. Yep. Yes, the one that has the black and the white.
Yes.
In the striping? Yes. Yeah, that was for his son. He says he hates it that his son's a Bengals fan, but...
He was like,
and you know, Joey, he didn't just say he hates it. There was a few other exploratives in there.
Oh yeah, he colored it fancy with how he worded it. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
A coral snake you've painted, huh?
Yeah, and that was actually a harpoon.
Huh. Nice.
That particular that was a 2-piece harpoon that I painted in that coral snake pattern. That was kind of an interesting one too, and. You know, Wes knows what's the difference between the coral snake and the king snake.
What?
He can't tell it
the
all.
Words on the screen.
What, the red and yellow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, red and yellow kill a fella.
Yep, red on yellow kill a fella. Red on black scratch his back.
Scratch his back. Yep, he's nothing. No big deal.
Yeah. And you had to make sure you got that part right.
I had to do one for somebody, but I did just chunks on wraps and stuff,
Mhm.
and I was the whole time red on yellow letter, like that's what I was saying in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason, you painted a Jason themed.
That was another Warren Page one there.
Good old
Yeah,
Warren.
he wanted one done up for a Halloween thing that he was doing, and he came up with the Jason theme, and we were talking about some different things with the mask and what we could do, and I'm like, well, you gave me some pictures here. Let me see what I can come up with, and it actually came out really cool.
That one looks.
That was a neat one.
That one's awesome. And we got this cute little white and turquoise kind of giraffe spots or cow spots.
That's the cow spots.
Cow spots. Okay.
That's the Jersey cow. Yeah, I've done several of the Jersey cow. I guess it's a Jersey cow or something like that, but in different colors.
Yeah.
Pinks, Tiffany's, blacks, of course, and I've done a cow pattern on several of them. And every time somebody orders one, I bet you never heard of this one before. And I'm like, yeah, I send them pictures. Yes, I have.
I've done quite a few of these. And then you've got the leopard pattern. That's very cool.
Leopard pattern. I've done that in a few different colors as well. That's a neat one in the natural colors.
Yeah.
That one actually comes out really good. I've done a bunch of those.
That's pretty. It's really.
That's a lot of airbrushing.
That looks like a lot of airbrushing. Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the gator one that you finally figured out?
Yes.
That looks
that's
amazing.
The gator one. Yeah. Yeah, I just did a reel on that one that had video with it and stuff like that too of it going around.
Mm-hmm.
Looked really nice.
I'll have to check out the reel. I must have missed it because whenever you sent these photos, I was like, I haven't seen that one. That one's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, there's the hot dog.
That one was, and see, the gator one was not a custom rod.
No.
That was a customer of mine wanted me to paint him a rod. He had bought a rod online. It was a nice rod. It was a decent rod, but it was just a production rod.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted a gator pattern put on it. He was going to his first gator hunt coming up in a couple of weeks. So he wanted a gator theme on there and stuff. And I'm like, man, I've been wanting to do a gator for a long time. I've been trying to figure out how to do it. I said, bring it over. I said, I'm gonna make it happen. So, and we did, and it came out fantastic and stuff. But that's a pattern that I've been working on in my head for a long time.
Yeah.
But that particular one was actually, it was just a production rod. I masked off the guides. I masked off the grips and everything, and painted in between. And then I went around with some epoxy and finished off the edges, where it masked off to.
Mm-hmm.
And shit, you'd have never known it. You'd have never known it that it wasn't custom.
Wow, that's neat.
Came out really nice. I've done that for several people where they didn't want the custom rod, but they wanted one painted, and usually by the time they do that, they end up paying about $150 more than they would have if they'd have just bought a good custom rod.
Yeah.
But,
there's the infamous hot dog rod that I made you paint.
oh yeah, I had to throw that picture in there in the strange category.
Yeah, it's definitely strange, and the way that you guys set up the photo was just absolutely precision.
That was one of those where I was out there taking the pictures, and I'm like, you know what I need? I need a paper plate. And so I got the paper plate, and I'm like, dang, we need a bun. Can we do a bun? And I'm like, we didn't have any hot dog buns, but we had some kind of roll. We cut that open and made it look like a hot dog bun. And I'm like, it needs some ketchup.
I love how he's sacrificing the food for the photos.
I'm putting ketchup and mustard and relish on it. And I'm like, we need a side dish. So I threw some potato chips on it.
I love it.
And then, I had fun setting that picture up. Connie started filming me setting up the picture. It's like, you're having too much fun.
The photo aesthetic was just perfect. You look at it, you go, that's supposed to be a weenie. Because if you took a picture of it without that, you wouldn't really get that that's supposed to be a weenie. They'd be like, is it tiger striped in a weird color? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the thing. It's just like with your stuff. It's really important to set up a good picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to keep files of your pictures. And, for anybody who's out there doing any kind of, I don't care what kind of decorated type stuff they're doing on a rod, they need to be doing their own little photo journals and setting up their files in their phones and stuff like that so they can pull that stuff up again later without having to scroll through 2,000 pictures trying to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very sad looking through the pictures on my phone because I have so many pictures of fishing rods and so few pictures of fish.
Oh no, you poor thing. You need to go fishing more.
Yeah.
So do we. Don't worry. You're not alone in that.
Oh,
Um,
I know that.
you had to.
Anybody who gets into this and gets good at it, it's like they get so busy at it that they don't have time to fish anymore.
We're
That's why we all got into it in the first
because
place.
we love fishing, and now we have to work instead of
Yeah.
fish. But it's okay.
Yeah. It all worked out.
You painted Barney one time, I see.
That was a neat one too. That was a fairly recent one. And that rod actually came into me in that color.
Nice.
It's a very cool rod. It was a fiberglass rod. I think that was a blue halo rod. Beautiful rod. And normally I would I would paint the thing green
Mm-hmm.
for the spots. I would mask off those green spots, and then I would paint the rod purple. Very simple. But he just wanted the green spots painted on his purple rod, and that made it hard
Yeah.
because I had so much masking off to do on that. But it came out so good. And that was, again, using a Cricut machine. And I found the Barney spot pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You can find all that stuff on Google it up and stuff, and you'll find it. And I was able to print that out and stick those just all over the rod, and it came out really good. The customer was just blown away by it. And it was one where he was doing some sort of a charity thing with it and stuff like that. But it's like those Barney spots they really looked good on that rod. I was like, I actually had a lot of fun with that. It was one of those where I dreaded it because I knew how I was going to have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it all came together, I'm like, man, this is really sharp.
Yeah.
It really looks good.
The contrasting colors and the way that you put the spots down, it's nice.
Yeah. And the whole thing still got clear coated. The whole rod got clear coated when I was done.
Yeah.
But it really looked good.
The giraffe one is fun too.
The giraffe one was another fun one.
That one looks.
That was, again, those spots have to be put on that rod one at a time. There is no way to do it any other way.
That's time consuming.
So you go online and you find giraffe patterns and you print them out, or you cut them out on your Cricut machine, and you do a whole bunch of them, and you do them in different sizes because the rod's getting skinnier as it goes up. Those spots need to get smaller.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of figure out what sizes you need, and that was a very tricky paint job because there was so much of it.
It looked so good.
And we did over half of the rod with the spots on it.
Wow.
And then it just kind of faded out to that bronze color towards the tip. And you look at those colors compared to the picture of the giraffe that I was using as my model, because I nailed the colors.
Oh yeah, you nailed it. Like that's a giraffe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and then we're getting into your wood ones now. So this one's the weathered gray color that you did.
Weathered gray has been a surprise for me. I never expected that one to really take off, but I'm doing more weathered gray than I am anything else.
Wow, that's actually
on
fascinating.
The wood patterns, it's unreal.
Huh.
And it looks so sharp. And the thing is, what's really cool about the wood grains, and I don't care whether you're going with a more natural wood grain or whether you're going with a gray wood. I don't know if you see the picture of the seafoam wood in there.
I can find it real quick. There it is. Yep.
But it's one of those things that, with most of these colors, it's kind of like your favorite pair of blue jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Every shirt in your closet looks good with them.
Yeah.
And so every color that you can think of to throw on them with the thread work looks good. On a gray wood grain, think of all the different color combinations you could do on that.
You can use every color.
And
just about.
it would look so sharp. Most people are going to think, okay, well, I'm going to go with a dark gray and black on it. Man, think about throwing some color on it. Throw some color on it because it really looks good. The brown woods, they look really good with color.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable what you can do with those because, like I say, they it's like your favorite pair of jeans. They just look good with every shirt in your closet. It doesn't matter what shirt you wear with jeans.
Right.
So it's one of those things that those are colors that kind of surprise people on what they can do. Everybody thinks that, well, it's a natural, so I need to stay with natural colors. Don't be afraid to make it pop.
Mm-mm.
Don't be afraid to throw pinks and yellows and greens on there. You'd be surprised how good they'll look.
Gray and browns they're natural. They're neutrals to begin with, so you might as well just throw the color on there. This wooden reel seat that you have with the stars and stripes, this is amazing.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. That I mean, even up close, when you're looking at that thing up close, it looks like it's inlaid pieces of wood.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody hand carved that and put those different colors of wood into it. They came out so nice like that. And again, it's a multiple paint job situation to do those. You don't do that in one stage.
Mm-mm.
That's got to be done in a couple of different stages. And when you're doing stages like that on real seats in particular, you want to make sure that you don't paint over your threads every single time.
Yeah, because you got to keep the
Because you're going to build up
depth.
so much that your nut's not going to go up on the threads anymore. So you got to make sure you're masking off the threads until the last color, so that you only painting that once.
They're just gorgeous. I mean, like if you hadn't put this in here and I just randomly saw it, I'd be like, "Is somebody really carved that out of wood? That is insane."
And honestly, you could hold it in your hand and you'd still be saying the same thing.
Yeah. And then the last photo that we have is the bamboo that you did with the nodes on it. Nodes.
Yeah.
That looks just
Most
like
of
bamboo.
the bamboo I do is done without the nodes.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few customers that want them to look more like an old cane pole. That's when we put the nodes on them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we do pretty much what they ask. I've done so many different kinds of wood grain: hickory, teak, birch, and I didn't know that there was a difference, but there's a difference between the birch and the aspen tree. I thought they were the same, but they are different, and there's a different way of doing them. All the different varieties of trees, and again, it's kind of like when I do my first fish pattern. It's like, oh, that's awesome. Can you do a name a fish? The same thing with the wood grains. Oh my God, that's awesome. Can you do a? And it's like, let me look up a picture of it. Let me see what I can do.
We get on
And
Google.
it's one of those things that you try to come up with different things, and everybody wants something a little bit different. That's okay. I try to work with that.
I think your job is super cool because I mean, yeah, you probably hate having to do batches of painting like a solid 12 blanks white, but you get these one-offs where somebody's coming in there asking for something, and it really makes you kind of go, well, how do I do that? And you just figure it out,
Yeah.
I think that probably.
I make a lot more money off of painting 12 white blanks
I'm sure you
than I
do.
do those one-offs, because you just can never justify the amount of time that you put into those.
Yeah.
But those one-offs is what makes it all worthwhile too.
Yeah, I mean, just the photos you shared, and that obviously 11 years of working doing this, there's a lot more out there.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, where can people come and find you? How do they get in touch with you if they want something painted by you?
My website is www.backbonecustomrod.com. That is rod, not rods.
Okay.
It's not plural, it's singular. Check out my Instagram page. That's got the best pictures on it. My website, I've got a lot of pictures on, but I've also got my pricing on there. I've got my processes on there. If you've got questions about how can I paint my own blanks, look at my website. There's information on there about what I use to paint rods. I've had people tell me right from the get-go, why are you doing this? Why are you telling people how to do this? This is your thing. And I'm like, I work with world-class do-it-yourselfers. They're gonna figure out a way. Heck, you're starting to do airbrushing. It's one of those things that we're all world-class do-it-yourselfers, and like Bill Faulkner likes to say, we're makers. We want to make things. We want to do it all ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you realize that, okay, it's not really very efficient to do certain things myself. I do really good at some things, but I don't really want to set up a paint booth and buy all that equipment. And it's like I want to paint a fishing rod in a mahi colors and stuff like that. So it's green, yellow, and blue. I need green, yellow, and blue. So let me go get some green, yellow, and blue paint and make that happen. And if anybody ever looks at my mahi paint jobs, I've actually got 9 different colors in a mahi paint job. It's hard to see that. You see green, yellow, blue, but it's the blending of all those colors, and how it gets darker on the back and blends down and stuff. You don't see how many colors I'm actually putting into that. If you really want those kinds of effects, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
And I could cut it back and say, you know what, I could probably make more money if I just use green, yellow, blue and just knock them out real quick, but they wouldn't look the same.
Yeah.
And I kind of like getting that wow factor.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know you understand that.
Yeah.
I know you understand getting that wow factor. I've seen you cut more threads off than I've ever done.
It's always a lot easier to go, Don, this is my idea. I don't care what it costs. Just tell me a cost.
Yeah. That's it. Well, I don't think Don would have loved me or even wanted to talk to me anymore if I said, "Hey, I got this graffiti idea in my head." He'd been like, "No, go away."
That whole process came out really good. You did a good job on that.
Thank you. I don't ever want to do it again. But thank you.
Yeah.
I will definitely only the clear coat is where I got it. The clear coat just absolutely destroyed me. That was a nightmare doing that.
I was gonna say everything on the graffiti rod looked great. The finish on the clear coat, it was the one area where it didn't really lay down. I know the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, it's got orange peel in a
And
couple
trying to
sections.
do that with spray cans, it's you're going to get decent results. Some people are going to say this is great, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Other people aren't going to be happy with that. And I try to make sure that if anything goes out of my shop, and Connie is my final inspector, and there have been times that me and her have gone round and round about it. It's like, no, that's good enough, and she's like, is it really? Dang it, no, but I'm like, okay, I'll take it back out. I'm going to redo it. Call the customer, let them know it's going to be 2 days longer. It's one of those things that things happen.
Yep.
Sometimes a bug lands in a paint job, and sometimes I know it's right where the reel seat's going to go, and I'm not going to worry too much about it.
Right.
But sometimes it's going to land somewhere out right where the first guide is going to be. Well, it's right where the first guide would be if I was building the rod. But it might not be if you're building the rod.
Yep.
So, that's got to be fixed. I can't let that go.
Yep.
It's different things like that. Sometimes you're just going to get some trash in the paint job it keeps it from being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't let that go out. Those are going to get fixed or redone. And, sometimes it's just a little polish, takes care of it. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's sand them down and redo them.
Don, I do appreciate you coming on and chatting with us tonight. This has been, first off, awesome, looking at all of the stuff that you have been doing, and also informational as well. Do you have any last minute things that you want to share with us before we let you get on to your life?
Just, if anybody has any questions, like I say, I respond pretty well to the messenger stuff on Facebook and Instagram. You can always email me. All my contact information is on my website as well. It's also got my phone number on there and everything else. So if anybody needs to contact me, they can contact me through those. And if they have any kind of questions, like I say, I try to help people out too. And also the other one thing I wanted to mention too is we do offer the free pickup service at Mudhole and Get Bit. We're only about an hour away from Oviedo, Florida. And from those two particular suppliers, we offer the free pickup service there. So if you call in an order to either one of those places, just have them hold the blank or reel seat or whatever it is that you want painted, have them hold it for pickup by Backbone. And we pick up every Wednesday. And by the following Wednesday, it's usually done and ready to ship out. The thing is, what's nice is Mudhole and Get Bit, they still handle the shipping. So you don't pay any extra shipping at all. We pick up at no extra charge, and you don't pay any extra shipping. If your order qualifies for free shipping, they still ship it for free.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is it saves a ton of money, and that's one of the things I really do appreciate what Mudhole and Kevin over at Get Bit do for me on that, because that's worked out very well. Sometimes it's hard to figure out on the websites for Mudhole or Get Bit where to put that comment about to hold the rod. So pick up the phone. They're very good, very responsive when you call them and talk to them. They will make sure that it's marked correctly for you.
Well, thank you so much, Don. I appreciate your time and hanging out with us tonight.
Well, thank you too, and I appreciate you having me on, and I hope this worked out well, and hopefully we learned a few things on how to go forward with podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you having me on here.
You're welcome. Well, we will let you go and get back to living your wonderful life, and we'll chat later, okay?
All right. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. The man, the myth, the legend, Don Shafar, with his amazing talent. And we just saw apparently just a tiny bit with the 11 years that he's been doing this. So that's awesome. Check him out on Instagram. As he said, Backbone Custom Rod, not with rods. So I kept putting rods in there because I was misspelling his name. So I apologize, sir. We do have a few photos to run through real quick from Southern, because I asked Southern to contribute anybody that had been painting other than Don, and then we actually asked Don, like, dumb last minute, hey, we're doing painting things, like, would you
ultra last minute,
like 2 days ago, would you be interested in coming on here? And I'm so sorry, it's like super late, and he agreed, so awesome for him. But here's some of the rods that other people have painted. Frank L. Wolf This one, I took notes on what they were doing because they were using anodized blue. I don't know if that's supposed to be anodized or if it's an actual brand of paint called anodized, but it's a blue blank. And then he hydro dipped the rollers also in this. So that was actually a fun little additive that he's done. Very pretty blue. Oh, one of mine. So this is part of the graffiti set. This is the only blank that I have actually painted. This particular turtle is not done with an airbrush. It is all of the stuff that I graffitied on the actual blank itself is acrylic paint pens that I drew on there. Same thing with the tags that I created for it. So all of these photos are before I put the top coat on it, or the clear coat. I decided to do some kind of mural style graffiti, and really honestly I don't draw, so this is like the first year I kind of just was like, oh, I'm gonna make it the theme. That is GTN. That was on the net, and so I just kind of wrote the initials down for Get the Net. This is the before, so this is where I actually sprayed these things and get some ideas off of the craziness I came up with. I went out and bought a bunch of stencils and Krylon paint cans, the spray cans. I tried to do this with the airbrush, but I was on such a time crunch to get them finished by ICAST that I didn't master the airbrush. The airbrush is something that it's going to take a lot longer than I had time for these, but I used the spray cans and stencils and just added texture to that. That was the first step for these things. I had an 8-foot gaff, a fighting rod, and also the net, and luckily, I picked 3 different ones that had, like he said, decent real estate on them, so it wasn't too terrible. I went and also graffitied up, added sections where the guides weren't. In this particular one, the blue painter's tape is where a guide was sitting, so I was putting all this down here at the bottom too. I just threw a whole bunch of stuff on there to make it graffiti. I'm not going to go crazy in depth with this because y'all have seen these. And there are some fun ones. Like, I was trying to do play on words with hooks and stuff, so like hooker on the gaff. The fighting rod, I actually threw down some tags, as it's called, where I put Mudhole's name, American Tackle, Foundations on there. I did a little shout out to Wes's late mother, and a couple other random sayings and stuff on it. And that's another one of the befores. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time. Oh, one of my last favorite ones. This was on the fighting rod, where I drew a hook that said bite me with little fish fins. The top coat killed me. The top coat absolutely destroyed me. In a perfect world, I would have had time to hand these over to somebody at an automotive place that was spraying down clear coat one day and go, hey, I will pay you to do this. If Don lived closer to me, I would have sent it to him to clear coat it for me. But I had to do this, and it was a nightmare. Everything else on it was fun. Everything was great. The clear coat was only a nightmare because, yes, I was trying to do it out of a spray can and a 2K. But the third coat, I needed another can, and I had to go drive 40 minutes away to go get it. And in that 40 minutes, when I got back, I was shaking it when I walked through the garage door. And I accidentally hit the top of the can on the door frame and busted the actual spray nozzle off the can. And so my last coat on the fighting rod, the other 2 actually turned out really good, but the fighting rod, here's some spots. As Don said, there was a little issue on the final. There's some orange peel, because that when I busted the lid off of it, I actually had to run inside, grab Wes, because I needed him to turn the blank so that I could spray it. And I've got it pouring out of the can like a waterfall out the bottom, and I'm doing this like haphazard, trying to keep it away from me and get him to turn it, and it was just chaos. I don't want to do a clear coat ever again in my life. Shannon Hall, he made this handle, but he had somebody else paint it. And the person that painted it was Dark Corner Custom Crankbaits. And this is the Fire Tiger pattern, which I guess is that supposed to be the peacock bass? Is that what they call it?
Fire tiger and peacock bass are very similar colors. Fire tiger just has more of a tiger pattern versus peacock bass with spots. But it's the same color pattern.
Moving on, another one of Shannon's. Same thing, he made the handle and had Dark Corner Custom Crankbaits painted it for him. Same thing with this one, Shannon made it, the same guy painted it for him. I mean, teamwork makes the dream work, that's how I believe. Another one of Shannon's that he had Dark Corner Custom Crankbaits painted. Me, I'm going to like those because they got skulls on them. Pretty fun. This is also Shannon, he made it and the same guy painted it. That's supposed to be a brown crawl with an orange belly. So Tom has this little story that is attached to this one. He made this rod for his daughter when she was 8 years old, and it was all pink, right? Well, the daughter is now in her mid-20s
Doesn't
and
like
is
pink.
done with pink. And so he stripped it down and put this kind of paint job on there and finished it for her. So Trinity Veteran Rods. So this one is one of the anodized paints that he used on this, which I know you guys are asking about the candies. Like, I don't really know the differences in paints because I don't paint. I know what Don said, that we're all do-it-yourselfers, and to an extent we are. But like you said,
It's like I said,
It's-
I would rather hand Don an idea and go,
Please do
I
it.
need this. Well, that's going to be a lot of money. Don, I didn't ask about money.
yeah,
I said, I need this.
I just need you to do it
And
because
we've had those conversations with him.
the graffiti set I just had to do myself because that was too wild to ask him. That's the only reason why I did it. I don't want to do it again. I will absolutely paint the blanks, the background. I'll draw on them.
But
Don't
he's
ask me.
doing the clear.
I'm not doing a clear coat.
They're getting shipped to him.
I'll never do another clear coat in my life. Actually, I can't say that because I said I would never.
Matter of fact, we might drop those off to him and be like, can you clear these?
Anyways, another one by Trinity Veteran Rods. This one is, so that's another anodized paint, I believe. It's a pretty blue. This one is a matte gray with a blue tint to it. So this one is supposed to be like a perch rod in the perch colors. So last of Trinity's camo version. That one's really nice. I think the sky is the limit with painting blanks and stuff. It's just whether, figuring out how to do it, especially going on a cylindrical object that gets a lot smaller. This is one of Will's, and it's a green over a candy green over House of Color Orion Silver. Sorry, these paint names have got some long names, but it's just, a really pretty green. Another one of Will's. This is a color shift.
Burgundy to
Burgundy
gold.
to gold. So that one's really pretty. And then another one of Will's. This is the candy apple red over copper. And that's a really cool color that happened there. Very, very cool. So we've had a lot of photos tonight, a lot of discussions on paint and everything. We're not going to even try to go back over it because everything's already been summed up. We are going to talk about the product of the night.
Suka 2.
The Suka 2s. It won Best of Show in 23 and also Best in its category in 23.
So we just got all 4 variants in, and actually in hand, in-house to build with. And these by far as like a all-in-one handle system to put over the blank or to extend the blank, just feel amazing, look amazing, work great. There's spinning, there's casting, and there's 2 different variants of the carbon. So you've got like the 3K weave and then I guess it's called a compressed carbon.
I think so.
But overall, like if you haven't tried these, pick one of them, try them out, and just see what you think for yourself. But we're definitely going to use these any opportunity that we get.
And we just get some in. Woo-hoo. So you're going to be seeing us build with them. And it's supposed to be super easy. We'll let you know. That's for sure.
Mary will definitely let you know.
And I may actually be, instead of leaving it just with I know it's kind of a sin to cover up the carbon fiber, but I kind of want to paint one. Kind of already have an idea for it, so we'll see if that actually pans out or not. Thank you to our sponsors, Foundation Outdoor Group, for one, supplying all this amazing stuff that we can give away during the show, and also allowing us to be able to talk about, discuss, and travel and teach and do all of the amazing things. But it is an absolute honor and a blessing to be able to work with a company that is doing so much for the community as far as teaching and the education programs and stuff that are being put out there, and the fact that 2 months we'll be down there again.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 months. I know. I've got the timeline because I got to write out 4 classes and sort out what I'm teaching everybody at the Advanced Custom Rod Building Seminars. From what I hear, they're sold out. But there is a waiting list, so if people do drop out and cancel, you might be able to get in if you're interested in going. We do appreciate you guys hanging around and chatting with us, and we will talk with you later. Bye!